Well, hi there. Thought we'd go over a little tip and trick that I haven't seen other people doing. I find it really handy for breaking up your small kindling and tinder sources, little sticks and such, without having to wander all over camp to go gather them. So what we have here is my favorite small hatchet, almost an axe. It's a Fiskars X11. It's a little shorter than your traditional boy's axe, but has significantly longer reach and leverage than the X7, which is the much smaller and, granted, more packable of the two. So we're going to go over this little tip, and then I'll show you how to well, one of the ways to sharpen one of these out in the field. It's the way I use. So let's say that we've gathered our stick here that we want to break into small pieces. You'll see a lot of people using a stump or a fallen log to chop like so. And as you can see, the piece goes flying off into the distance, and it's pretty unpredictable as to where it's going to go. All you need to do is find a dead tree, stump, fallen log, whatever you've got in your area, and put your piece parallel to it so that it's along the same direction. And then when we split, all the pieces expend their energy that they would have used bouncing off into space. They'll bounce into the ground and stay pretty much where they are. Now, for comparison, as opposed to having to wander all around and probably missing quite a few of them, all of the pieces that we just chopped off are right there at our feet. That's all there is to it. Just place the piece vertically rather than horizontally and close to the ground. Instead of bouncing off into space, it'll land at your feet. Okay, next we'll go into a quick little field sharpening on this hatchet. Okay, so what we're going to need for this section is, well, you can skip it. I don't recommend it. You'll need one of these sharpening pucks. Lansky pucks are the most common type. This is a dual grit from another company. I think it was Ned Foss. The white side is 600 grit, and the red side is, I believe it was 180 grit, so quite rough. Really good for restoring chips and reprofiling. This axe, as you saw in the last video, was rather rusty after the winter months, and we've taken care of most of that and converted it into more of a black patina, which is the other form of oxidation that's actually protective towards the metal. And you'll notice that this side is far less patinaed than this side, and that is because of the axe mask itself. So these plastic polymer sheaths from Fiskars trap one side of the blade cheek right up against the plastic. If any moisture gets in there, it's game over for rust. So what we're going to do is take our hatchet, our sharpening puck, a little bit of water, and our ballistol. Now, ballistol is a great food safe, skin safe lubricant. It's very light. It doesn't hang around for a long time. I just keep some in a little squeeze bottle here. Sometimes I'll pre-cut it with water, so I can just take one thing when camping. In this case, this is, pure. So what we're going to do, now my hatchet is currently not that dull, so we're not going to be using that red side at 180 grit, but I'm going to put a few drops of ballistol on there, and I'm going to rub it around. Then I'm going to pour a little bit of the water over top of that. What I like is this keeps the Schwarf, the cut off steel, from jamming up your stone quite as badly, makes it easier to clean. And when I clean it, I just use dish soap and finger friction in the sink, and it gets as clean as it gets. I've had this one for years, and it still cuts just great. So some people have a real opinion about always using a stone dry, never mix water with oil, only use water. This is what works for me. So after years and years, this is what I've settled on. So the way to do this, and you got to be careful, is you grip your hatchet up close. What I like to do is hold it this way, and that way you can get a really good sight line on exactly where your angle is. You can see that disappearing line as you start to get close to the apex, and you want to be right on that line or slightly under it. Now, axes are convex edges, so moving your stone at angles from the apex and more obtuse is not only no problem, it's beneficial. So I just like to do long rotations and make sure that you keep the face of the stone flat against the apex. You don't want to start tilting your stone in one direction or another as you go. You'll start putting a whole lot of pressure on an edge there and destroying the work that you've just done. So just make sure to keep it flat. We won't spend a lot of time here. As I said, this one's already reasonably sharp, and these Fiskars have relatively hard steel for an axe or a hatchet, but in the grand scheme of things, they're nowhere near as hard as most pocket knives, and they're carbon steel, so they're pretty easy and quick to sharpen. Very forgiving. And I don't aim for anything higher than this 600 grit edge at the most, because it is a ductile, soft steel. And the first time you use a razor edge, it's not a razor anymore. I mean, we're using it as an impact tool on wood. And usually that wood is not particularly clean wood either. It's got sand and grit contained in the bark. Okay, so we'll call that side good for now. I'm going to refresh my water on the stone. And that is a highly precise part of the process. Dump. And we'll do the other side. Now, normally, if I were working with the coarse side and really restoring this, re-apexing it, reprofiling it, I would be checking for a burr before I change over. But there's no need in this case. Okay. And I have a rag out here with me. We'll just wipe that down. You can see that this hatchet head has been to the wars. That rounded off chip there happened years and years ago. It's slowly getting ground out. So, how sharp is it? Let's take a look. I'm going to grab a sheet of catalog paper here. This stuff is very delicate. As you can see, we are paper slicing sharp, no problem. Nice clean edge. And that is, in my opinion, more than enough for working out in camp or in the woods. So that's it. Quick, simple sharpen with a Lansky style puck, a little bit of Ballistol mineral oil lubricant, and a bit of water, and a rag. Thanks for your time. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. Have a good day.